Guys, the future of learning is here, okay? If you're in the process of taking your CompTIA certification exam and you're not using this tool that I'm about to show you, then you're making your life harder than it should be, okay? You're making things complicated for yourself, okay? I'm going to show you how I learn, okay, how I study to take my CompTIA certification exam. And obviously, the first thing you do is you buy the course, from I think these guys, they on train, they're the best, in my opinion. And they're on Udemy and they are very cheap. But okay, you buy the course, right? I'm trying to take this CompTIA Data Plus exam, right? As a data professional, data analysis certification, right? So after you bought this exam and maybe you've watched all the videos and you just need a different way to study that suits you so you can retain what you've learned, then the next thing you need to do, that is, in my opinion, absolutely paramount, is to go on Google, right? Then you search for NotebookLM, okay? And it's going to take you to this interface, okay? This is the tool I'm talking about. This is the tool for the 21st century of learners and people who want to retain information and learn on the go, okay? So that's why you need to adopt this tool as part of your learning arsenal. All right. So the basics is, let me show you the basics, right? I've already made a few videos on this. So if you need a refresher, if you need something and you're a beginner, I would actually tell you to watch one of these videos first. Okay. Watch one of these videos on my channel and don't forget to like them and obviously subscribe to my channel as well. So as a data professional, I'm going to show you how I use this tool to learn and get myself ready to take the CompTIA certification exams. All right. So the first thing we need to do after you've come up to NotebookLM, yeah, you want to go to create new. Obviously, you need to log into your Google account. Okay, make sure you have a Google account so you can log in, and then you want to go to create a new notebook. And by the way, this app, NotebookLM, is actually available on mobile as well, so you can actually download it from your app store as well. But I prefer to use a computer so you can see things clearly, and it just gives you way more option, and you're able to, you don't miss anything. Basically, you don't miss anything at all. So basically, again, let me get started. Let me stop talking. Let me just get started. Okay, let's go. So now I've identified my learning resources. Again, remember, I'm trying to take the CompTIA examination, right? These three resources, these three PDF files were provided to me by these guys, okay, by this training company, okay? They make courses about CompTIA and help you pass your exams. So once they provided these resources, right, instead of me sifting through, let me open one of this, right? Instead of me sifting through how many pages? 86 pages of information and then going through each one. That's a bit boring. Okay, that's not my learning style. And remember, I'm not trying to just read all this and forget it. I'm trying to retain information. I'm trying to pass the CompTIA certification exam. Okay, so why am I going to go through all this? Look at all this. It's not motivating, it's not inspiring, it's not something I can retain. Okay, so let me close that down. But now that brings us to NotebookLM, this amazing tool. So basically, I know my sources, these three sources here, these three notebooks, right? I'm going to then go into NotebookLM, load up the sources because they are clearly PDFs. So I'm just going to drag them, copy all three. And then this here, it loads all those three resources in my sources panel. And let's take a minute to talk about the sources panel, the importance of this panel, guys. Now, the importance of this panel, this is the most important panel on this app, in my opinion, because everything you will learn will be in the sources panel, okay? Now, that's why you have to be careful, guys. Be careful. You don't want to put any rubbish on this panel here. You only want to put the sources, whether that's a blog article or a YouTube video or maybe an audio voice of yourself talking about any topic that you've learned and mastered or that you're currently learning, anything. okay, anything that you want to put in this sources panel, because as you can see, this sources panel, you can actually upload up to 50 different sources. And in my opinion, that's a bit much. I normally go with 5 to 10. 10 is maximum in my opinion. But like I said, I want to take the CompTIA examination, and these are the only 3 resources that I found that is actually solid and will help me pass the exam. So I'm going to stick to these 3, guys. No need to overdo it. Okay. Now, the next thing is, like I said, this sources panel is very important. You don't want to mess with it. Okay. Once you know that these are the sources you're going forward with, the next thing you want to do now is look at this section here, this chat section. Remember, guys, this should look familiar to you. This chat section. Does chat GPT ring a bell? Okay, it should. Okay, this is the section where, now let me explain something to you. The difference between chat GPT and cloud, I actually use cloud. As you can see, I use cloud. But the difference between those LLM tools and NotebookLM is that when you use a tool like, let me show an example. Okay, when you use a tool like cloud or chat GPT, these tools have been trained on data that you're not even aware of. Okay, thousands of data, thousands of sources, billions, millions, trillions of sources. And sometimes the downside is that if you ask it something, let me just let me just ask it something, right? Let me say what is the CompTIA exam BAO one? Let me just put it there. Now, when you prompt an LLM like this, right, it has the tendency to want to hallucinate, okay? Because there you go, it searches the web and it looks for different articles on Google or something like that, and then it brings you the information. And can you really trust that information? I would say no, okay, because you don't really know where the information is coming from. You're like, do you know? Okay, it can give you a link, and then you have to, as you can see, you have to then go through all these things. And do you really know these guys? Do you really know whether this information is correct? No, you don't. Okay, but the difference here now with Notebook LM is that when you prompt it here in this chart, it only answers you from the sources that you've put in the sources panel, guys. That is amazing. That is that lets you know that you can use this as your personal LLM, large language model. Okay, because remember, that's why I told you earlier, be careful with the sources that you put in here. Because once you know that you trust the sources, then you can use this chat GPT-esque, you could say, to then ask it questions or tell it what to do. And everything it does is going to be based on these sources that you've inserted here. So it's not going to start researching, you know how this cloud had to search for or something on Google and came up with different results. It's not going to do that with Notebook LM, okay? It's going to stick to these 3 sources. And if you're sitting the again, like I'm saying, if you're sitting the CompTIA certification exam, you should be able to trust the sources, and you should be able to trust that whatever you're going to learn and whatever practice is going to give you for the exams is only going to come from these trusted sources, guys. So it's only going to come from exactly what the exam will be about. Okay, instead of you randomly searching something on Google, figuring out what is the exam going to be about and all that. Focus on these 3 sources. Again, don't go overboard. If you want to use more than 3 sources, 5 is enough, in my opinion. Okay, but now let's move on to the next section. Now, I know that I want to prompt it further so that I further customize it to my liking, so that I can remember I said earlier I want to pass the exam. I want to really study for this exam. So I'm going to go into this notepad here for prompts that I've already prepared. And as you can see, make sure you also try to prepare some prompts for yourselves. Or you can just go with mine on the screen, just copy and paste it. if you want. So I'm going to copy this here, and I'm going to give it to my chat. And what this chat actually does is it's going to come up with some, something, it's going to come up with again, like ChatGPT, it's going to come up with, you know, answers and stuff like that. But I will do this, but then I will further use this same prompt when it's time to create the audio version of this. But for now, let me just press enter. And it's going to take, it's not going to take too long, but it's going to take a few seconds to process. And at the moment, it's going to go through the study materials and everything. So it's going to take about less than 30 seconds. And as you can see, there we are. There we are. As you can see, everything is again coming from our sources, not some random website on Google. As you can see, everything, every single thing is coming from our trusted sources. That's why when you study like this, you're able to trust where the information is coming from, and that should fill you with confidence. Now, let's go to the one of the most important parts. Remember, we want to use the sources to create learning materials, okay, so that we can use this to study for our CompTIA certification exam. So one thing I like to do when it's time to, in this section here, in the studio section, remember there's three sections: the sources, the chat where you can actually prompt things, and later I'm going to show you how to use the explainer in the chat as well. I'm going to show you that is absolutely valuable. You don't want to miss that. Okay. Now let me go to the audio section. But first of all, let me explain some of these outputs. There are, as you can see, there are 6 outputs here. Okay. This is basically saying it's going to create like an audio question and answer podcast for you, which is incredible. And again, anything you create here is going to be based off this trusted sources. Remember, this is very important. Yeah, and if you want to also create a video, explain a video, it's going to be based again on this trusted sources. And then there's a mind map, and then there's a report, flashcards, quiz, and so on and so forth. So the first thing we do, I want to create an audio because I know my learning style is I like to listen. Okay, I'm very good at listening to things, so I can retain it, and then after listening to it, I can then test myself in the form of a flashcards or a quiz. You might go with something else. You might think, okay, I like using mind maps or reports or video. Sorry, excuse me, or video explainer. Whatever your style is, just go with it. But because I like audios, I'm gonna click on this edit button. Then this gives me a brief, a few more a few more options here. But what I like going with here is the deep dive. Okay, again, I want something comprehensive that I can use as a study material. I don't want anything brief or debates. No, I want to study. Okay, so I'm gonna go with brief. I'm gonna go with the long as well. Okay, I want the audio to be long. Okay, I preferably to be an hour long, so I can really sit there and study and replay it over and over again, so that I can pass the CompTIA certification exam. So again, here, like I said, the prompt, I'm going to use the prompt again for this audio section here. Then I'm going to click generate. And because of the option that I chose earlier, this audio generation is going to take quite a long time. It's going to take about 5 to 8 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes. Let's just 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to let this run, and I'm going to be right back. Yeah, and we are back. As you can see, guys, the audio podcast has now finished generating. And one thing you can do from here, you can actually download it if you click on the dot dot dot. You can actually download it if you want to. You can rename it. You can actually share it as well. But I'm not going to do that. I like to keep everything natively on NotebookLM. Okay, I don't want to have any storage issues on my phone. So again, let's just, before we create any other resources, let's just listen to the audio generation. Okay, let's just have a listen.
Welcome to the deep dive.
And see, like I said earlier, I like the deep dive to be very, very long. And as you can see, this is about 48 minutes, a whole 48-minute podcast. Okay, this is a real study material that you can actually listen to over and over again. So let's listen to what it says. Let's listen for the first 30 seconds, just so you know what it's about.
Welcome to the deep dive. Yeah. You are here because the clock is ticking. You have 3 days until you sit for the CompTIA A Data Plus certification, the DA0001. Yeah, this is high stakes. It's a real time crunch. Absolutely. So our mission today is laser focused. We are going to extract the most critical application-driven knowledge from your study sources. Right. And focus on the trade-offs, the things that really trip people up on the exam. And we'll use frequent multiple choice checks, just like the exam, to sort of cement that high efficiency recall immediately. That 3-day window means we're prioritizing clarity and application. We're not just, reciting definitions. We're focusing on the purpose and the impact of these data decisions. Exactly. CompTIA test.
Guys, if you are not amazed by this audio generation, then I don't know, man. I don't know, because if you couldn't do this even 5 years ago, you couldn't do this. 5 years ago, you could not do this. To produce a high quality audio podcast like this, you would need multiple equipment and multiple people to be in the same room. But listen, times have changed, and I love it. Okay, now let's move on to the next sources that I normally use, which is the quiz. Again, like I said, my format is I listen to the audio generation. I use that as a study study material. Okay, I listen to it over and over again. Then I use the flashcards and the quiz to quiz myself on the topic, so that I know that I've understood what I am learning. So before we generate the quiz, again, I'm going to click on the icon there. I'm just going to give it again. I have one more prompt to give it. So I'm just going to copy this prompt here, and I'm going to put this here, because I want the quiz to because the CompTIA Data Plus exam is a 90-question exam and it lasts 90 minutes. Okay, so I want to at least get enough questions from my sources here so that I can use that to prepare myself for the exam. So it says number of questions. I'm going to say more. Easy. I'm going to go hard. Okay. I'm trying to, pass the exam. I don't want it to be easy. So I'm going to go hard. Then I'm going to leave this prompt there. Then I'm going to just generate. And this, excuse me, this quiz material doesn't take as long as the audio. As you can imagine, the audio takes a lot of computing power. And this also, the video explainer, I never use this because I just, again, like I said, I prefer listening to an audio to learn. Okay, sometimes the video is over. Audio really, really does it for me. Okay, but yeah, if you wanted to generate a video explainer as well, that's going to take a long time, I'm sure. Okay, but I've never bothered to use this because like I said, I know my style. Okay, I prefer the audio. But yeah, this is going to take at least about a minute or so or less. But yeah, it should just be straightforward. But in the meantime, all we can do is let's go over the chat. Let me explain a bit more about the chat and our links back to the sources. Again, even let me talk about this, quiz generation as is generating. This quiz is generating everything based on 3 sources. As you can see, it says here as well, based on 3 sources. It's based on our trusted sources. That's the import. That's the major difference between using NotebookLM to study and using something like Cloud or ChatGPT. Okay, because these sources on these LLMs, you can't really trust them. You don't know where they're coming from. Okay, they hallucinate so much, guys. Okay, but when you're using NotebookLM, you know that the sources are from the materials that you've actually used as your sources. Okay, you've picked them out, you've checked them, you're happy that they are good for you to learn from. And then you can base everything you do and every other output materials that you create on your sources, which is where the high impact actually comes from. Okay. So in the meantime, again, let me go through the chart again. This chart here will also link back to not only the output material that we create, as you can see, it's done already, but let me finish talking about this chart, and it links back to the sources as well. Okay. Excuse me. As you can see, let me go through the data. Let me go through the quiz. As you can see, guys, the quiz, it's not really, it didn't really, get to 90 questions, but 53 questions is a lot, guys. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay. It's going to really help you study, help me study as well. Okay. And like I said, it's based on these three sources. That's very important. Don't forget that. Okay. It's not just coming, these questions and these uh multiple choice answers are not coming from random. They're not random. Okay. They're coming from your three sources. Okay. So as you can see, let's go through this question. According to the Dion training study plan, what is the suggested first step to take on day one of the 30-day study schedule? Okay. Read the study to know, press to complete flashcards, study and these are, again, maybe not specific to what the exam will be about, but majority of the questions will be specific, like this one. Okay. like this one, data governance and so on and so forth. You know, like now it's going into data manipulation. So majority of these questions will be what the exams will be about. And as you can see, type 2 error in hypothesis testing, all these, most of them will be questions based on the exam, again, relational databases and so on and so forth. So guys, as you can see, that is the power of NotebookLM. And if you want to go above and beyond, you can even create multiple, other materials like a flashcard. The flashcard is actually something that I normally create, but on this time, I'll probably do that later. I think I've talked about this long enough, but one thing I want to show you before I wrap up is, let's go to something like this, right? Let's say you're taking a quiz. Okay, let's actually read the question. Which data visualization type is most suitable for representing hierarchical data, where larger categories are broken down into smaller categories? Okay, where larger categories are broken down. That answer is a tree map. Okay, I know that because, again, I've taken the video course. Okay, so I'm going to go for the tree map. There you go, as you can see. But one thing I want to mention here is this button right here, explainer. What this does is, as you're taking the quiz, right, you testing your knowledge so that you prepare yourself for the exam. If you manage to get something wrong here or even something right, you can click on this section here. And what that does is pass the information to the LLMs in the middle, this chart here, and it further explains the concept to you, which also again helps you learn, and gain a good understanding of the topic, which again should help you prepare for the exam. So I'm going to click on this explain icon here. And as you can see, it's already passing the information like a prompt, like you would do with ChatGPT or Cloud, right? And then let's go. Let's see what it does. There you go. See? So identify that obviously I got the right answer. And then it goes into what the tree map is and the visual structures, nested categories, and so on and so forth. And it goes into much more detail, guys. This is the power of using a tool like this to learn. Okay, you're going to retain so much information because it just keeps giving you more things to learn and solidify what you've already learned. And also, again, one thing I should point out on this section here, on this chat, it links back to the sources, guys. Remember our trusted sources, source materials. Whenever you get an information here and you're like, is that really true? Is that really, you're not sure? It's going to link back to the sources. It's good if you hover over this sources here, sources one, sources two, sources three, sources, as you can see, it's going to, when it's talking about the tree map is a specialized visualization tool primarily used for presenting numerical data, blah blah blah. And then when you're like, let me see if that's actually from my sources, okay? And then you click on the sources and you can see it actually is, because this is a page from the study, the sources that we used. And as you can see, it's talking about the tree map. So that's how you know that everything you're learning, you can be confident to know that you're actually learning the right things. And you should be confident to know that you are going to, if you put in the hours using this tool, using the right sources, and using the right creating the right materials from your sources, you are going to learn a lot and retain a lot of information. Okay, and there you have it, guys. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and create this last one for myself, but guys, there's not much I can say about this tool. Again, I'm taking my CompTIA Data Plus exam in a few days, but I have been using this tool to learn, and it's absolutely supercharged my learning, and it's made me a lot more confident. And I'm very, very prepared for the exam now, and I'm confident that I'm going to pass the exam. So guys, I hope this video I've taught you something in terms of what you can do, how you can learn faster, learn better, be more confident in choosing your different learning styles using these different output materials. And yeah, guys, if you like this video, make sure you like this video, and yeah, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and I will see you next time. Peace.